Welcome to the March 8th, 2018 episode of Reactive Consciousness, our in-depth podcast about what happened this week in our lives. I'm your host, Vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
So it is the original duo, not the OG3, but the original duo, for the people that have been listening all along.
Yes. I agree.
Now, we can talk about the red-haired Menelaus all we want.
Oh man, out of my way. It's happening.
If you want to know what we're talking about, please see Corrective Consciousness.
Yeah, please listen to every single Corrective Consciousness episode.
It is our inside joke. We've mentioned that one a few times, I think, but
yeah, not as often as Windjammers, but it's definitely the older joke.
It's the oldest joke for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm wearing a Windjammers t-shirt right now, in fact.
Yep.
But I did want to go into a little bit in depth on the topic that I broached with Corrective Consciousness earlier this week.
You're wearing a brooch?
Yes.
Wow. So on to the next topic, which is what you broached.
I was trying to think of other female articles of clothing that I could
work in. Good luck.
Yeah. Game blouses, but
I love that.
But I didn't have anything. So
yeah.
Anyway,
another pun would have really tiara'd the conversation together. No.
Stop, Lotus. Please.
Yeah. That doesn't.
But,
yeah.
I did want to mention here that I had brought up last time that we were that I had set up my my video game setup to the point where I liked it. That I was going to. I was pretty much happy with the way that it turned out. It doesn't have every system that I've ever owned or currently own on it, but it does give me a wide variety of everything I kind of play the most. So she has a neat IKEA. My girlfriend has a neat IKEA entertainment center that kind of has a cubby holes system going on. So it's actually really conducive to video games. It doesn't fit the wider systems very well, but it will fit pretty much most things. So I wanted to make sure that I set it up in a way that looked nice, that was presentable, but also I could play the vast majority of the games that I wanted to. So in doing that, I was like, okay, well, what are essentials? So I said to myself, well, current systems are essential, you know. So I have my PS4, my Xbox One, and my Switch hooked up to it. And I also have my PC hooked up to it. I have a really nice gaming PC with an NVIDIA GeForce 1080 Ti, which is one of the best graphics cards that you could buy right now.
Yeah, so that means that you could run classic Doom really smoothly.
Oh yeah, that is what I test the system out with. I was like, how many frames per second am I getting
can I get
on
a 1995
Doom?
or 6 Doom?
I could play this on an oscilloscope and get 60 FPS, but no, mind you, but
wait,
that's okay.
Was classic Doom in 60 FPS? I know Wolfenstein 3D was.
Probably not, but it's
Wolfenstein
probably
3D
close.
is like actually kind of disorienting how fast it is. Like you kind of don't expect it.
I don't know how many frames per second Doom is, but it's pretty high.
Yeah, it is smooth. But Wolfenstein 3D, I think, is like really like whoa.
I imagine if you play it with a modern mod like Doom, what is it? The
Brutal
GX? Doom? No. I mean like just getting it. I think. Just that one where they add particle effects. Like, remember I used that.
Oh,
I think it's
I know what you mean.
Doom GX or FX, something like that.
G-Doom?
G-Doom, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So G Doom is a great mod and can run any of the Doom engine games. Like you can even run Chex Quest off of it.
Yeah, damn right you can run Chex Quest off it, and even Strife, which is one I hadn't heard of at the time.
Yeah, it runs beautifully on G Doom. You should definitely use it. But and you can customize it to your whim. Like if you don't want particle effects and stuff, you can turn it off. All that you can turn off all the crappy stuff and keep all the good stuff. You know, like
pretty much the
mouse
only
aim and all that stuff.
I'm very vanilla, but pretty much the only thing that I had turned on and kept on was when you enter a secret area, the game tells you that you did. Because it seemed a little weird. The classic Doom just wouldn't tell you. You just open a door and you check a room out, and then you beat the level, and it would tell you what percentage of secrets you found. I do kind of like the, yup, that one counts notification.
It also makes Doom the best looking it ever has. Like it just looks great with that modern setup. But anyway, so I play all my Steam games off of that, of course, and off of that PC, and games look great on it. And she has a 4K TV, so my PC is actually the only thing that takes advantage of it so far, because I don't have a PS4 Pro yet, and I don't have an Xbox One X. So those are things that I'll probably get, but to be honest, I don't want to buy those systems 3 times over. I prefer to only buy them like twice over. So I'll probably, when those systems are dead and it's ready to move on, I'll buy the best version of whatever that console was, and I'll have that as my lasting console for the rest of my collection. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm definitely not like, buying systems 3 times over. I'm sure there will be another iteration somewhere down the line.
Kind of like the PS4 Pro Slim or something like that.
Oh, they may just add a feature that I never anticipated.
Or remove one and be more economical, like the Nintendo 2DS or that previously Canadian only, like really small Wii that had no online function. Yeah. So like if all you care about is just buying Wii games at the store, then that's totally the system for you. But if you're interested in online multiplayer or the Wii shop, then stay away.
Yeah, I mean, typically I skip that one because I want more features, not less. Yeah. But I can understand why they come out with those. They come out with those for people that, are late
people
adopters.
Like me. Like I don't care about multiplayer stuff. Just let me play my single player games. Like,
yeah, but you cared about the Wii shop.
Barely. I still haven't bought anything on it.
Yeah, but like you need an internet connection for several things, like, and that had no internet connection whatsoever.
What, the Wii shop?
No, that Canadian Wii had no internet connection.
The Canadian one. I was like, what? Yeah, the Canadian one had
no internet connection, so therefore, even modding it would be very difficult.
That's true. That's
number one.
Yeah, because part of what you have to do is let it know your MAC address, your MAC ID.
It didn't have GameCube support.
That's a problem too, yeah.
It didn't have GameCube controller support either.
Even the later regular American ones, I remember there was one particular kind of Wii, I think it was like the black model, which looks super cool, and it came with Mario Kart, but I think that version lacked GameCube support as well. So it's like, well, you want to know that one going in.
Yeah. I mean, for me, that's not like a big deal. In fact, I pretty much would say that the Wii is the system that you can get rid of, because you can get like the Wii U and make do with that because it has the Wii mode. The Wii has like HDMI, and then keep your GameCube because you can play Game Boy Advance games off of that. So like and play your GameCube games off of it. So I would say that the system to get rid of is the Wii.
I can think of literally one exception to this, and that is the fact that the Wii accepts GameCube memory cards. So if you're going to do the Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, the Radiant Dawn thing, you must have a Wii for that. But like that's
a very specific,
the one thing I can think of.
Yeah, that's a very specific. That's a very specific use case.
Yeah.
But that being said, I did want to bring up what else I added to the setup. So I have my PS3 on there because I expect to play a couple PS3 games, within the near future. Like no pun intended, but I wanted to play the original Nier. I haven't finished it yet. And
that's why I started Drakengard. I want to work my way up to the games that people really say good things about.
I may just watch your Let's Play of Drakengard 1 and 2.
I'm not Let's Playing them, I'm just playing them.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, there isn't even... Like, now that I've... Because I didn't know what Drakengard played like at all. But now that I've played a bunch of levels, there really isn't much to Let's Play. Like, it's a Warriors game that's not officially a Warriors game. You run through crowds of goons, you cut them down, you'll occasionally get dialogue like, "Oh, the enemies are coming in," and that's a level. Like,
I might just watch all the super play of the cutscenes.
That's the thing, and it's not even like I haven't gotten to a proper boss battle yet, but like, if there's a proper boss battle, then that'll be one thing. But otherwise, the enemies you kill barely have any relation to the plot anyway. Sure. It's just like, oh, there are soldiers in this castle because a castle would have soldiers, but then you just see a story scene. So yeah, just watch a supercut of the story scenes, and at least, like, Drakengard, if you want to get ending number 1, you need to beat 8 chapters. I've gotten through 3 chapters, and the gameplay is just like an excuse to go from one story mode to the other. So yeah,
I'm not gonna put myself through that. I'm not gonna play some media, but the actual Nier I want to play because that's actually like a good experience playing that game. So that game is like, it's the game that I never want to end. You know, like it's so good that I loved it, playing it so much that I'm like savoring it. You know what I mean? Kind of like I did with Skies of Arcadia for a really long time, and also like watching Cowboy Bebop. I would just
Arcadia already
keep restarting it.
It's huge.
Yeah, I would keep restarting those 2 things because I loved them so much, and then I would get distracted. But I didn't mind restarting them every single time because it just loved it so much, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I have that, and I also wanted to play Demon's Souls. I haven't gotten a chance to beat that. So.
Oh, so you're gonna do the Red Dragon?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'll be beating the Red Dragon for a 3rd time.
Although, wait a minute, you still have your save file though, right?
I do, but I fucked it up.
Oh, that's right. You told me you ate the one.
Yeah, I ate one of the unique souls that actually would have given me a really good spell, so I fucked it up. So
yeah, I was gonna say if story is what you care about, then like there's virtually no story.
No. I mean, the Demon Souls the Souls games are all about like the experience of playing them. So like I'm playing that game because I want to play it, not because like I want to see the story. So anyway, I have that. But then that's pretty much all of the HDMI systems I have, other than the analog Super NT, which is I just received, and I need to update the firmware on that actually just came out.
Yeah, so do I. Yeah, I didn't. I guess it makes sense that would be a thing, but it just didn't occur to me. I was like, oh, firmware updates. Okay, so now I gotta find like a tiny SD card.
Yeah. No, I think just a regular SD card will work.
I phrased that poorly. Not a micro SD card, but an SD card without much memory on it.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to spend like $50 for like a 10,000 terabyte SD card when it's like you're downloading fucking firmware. It's like a couple kilobytes.
Oh, well, yeah, you could just have it lying around for another purpose later. I mean...
That is true, actually. I could use the SD card for whatever. Because the only thing that makes me a little nervous is that, like, when you're updating the firmware, you have to wipe the SD card clean. That has to be the only thing on it. So if I ever see more firmware, like, oh no, I gotta clean it up or get a new SD card or something.
Well, you don't have to keep the SD card in the system. You just need to...
No, but if I ever use it for another purpose, I'll have to wipe it clean if I want to put it back into the Super NT.
Yeah. Well, I have some spare ones lying around, so I'm not really worried about that.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to have. So anyway, so I also have my FrameMeister hooked up. So this is where, like, the big problem comes in. Is, like, I have so many systems, and I'll even just rattle off a few. I have an original Xbox. I have an Xbox 360. I have, let's see, a PS2, PS1, all all the systems I would hook up to my Genesis, the 32X, the Sega CD, the Genesis, the Super Graphics, the Super CD-ROM 2, the GameCube, the N64, just pretty much everything there. I even have a ColecoVision at home, which I'm not going to even bother hooking that up. But and I also have the Wii U, and the Switch has pretty much supplanted the Wii U. So I'm not really, unless like I want to go back and play something. I don't have a game in mind that that's exclusive to the Wii U that I'm really looking to play in the near future.
The only thing I could think of off the top of my head is Fatal Frame 5.
Yeah, and I will play that eventually, but I want to play all of those.
Yeah, otherwise the Wii U at this point is effectively a naturally upscaling Wii with an HDMI out.
Exactly. So I have that here in the apartment with me. It's just not going to be perpetually hooked up. Same thing with the Wii. I have that, but I'm not hooking it up. But I do have GameCube games and GBA games that I'm looking forward to playing in the future. Particularly GBA games. I want to play the Final Fantasy versions of 5 and 6. So
the GBA versions of
the
Final
GBA
Fantasy
versions.
6,
yeah, exactly. So
well,
I'll be
those are
playing
like
that.
the definitive ones, right?
Basically. I mean, we'll get into that later, but that'll actually broach our second topic. I also wanted to keep my Genesis hooked up because my Genesis is always perpetually hooked up. I love the Genesis. It was my favorite system growing up. I still will get in the mood to play Gunstar Heroes or Rocket Knight Adventures or Streets of Rage 2. So
God, I swear to God, like I cannot get enough of Streets of Rage 2. And now that I've played the real Streets of Rage 3, Bare Knuckle 3, and I've seen it's actually playable in the Japanese version, I think I still like Streets of Rage 2 a little more, but 3 is actually it's way up there. Yeah, like again, the American version is like
it's garbage.
It's hard to the point of not being fun anymore. Like
it's no good.
The Bare Knuckle is challenging, but you can beat the thing.
So I actually really love the Genesis, and I love I love all the crazy hookups for them and stuff like that. So I generally have all three like mini systems hooked up at once. The Genesis, the Sega CD, and the 32X. However, I know the 32X, I'll barely ever play that, so I can a lot of times justify not even having that part as part of the setup, because except for a couple curiosities, there's no must-have games for that system. Let's just be honest.
Well, Knuckles Chaotix is probably the only one I can think of.
But it's not a must-have.
It's not, but it's as good as your 32X is going to get.
Yeah. There are a couple other good games for it, but there's nothing that's essential. There's nothing as essential as Gunstar Heroes on it. There's nothing as essential as Sonic 2.
This only half counts, but you might be able to get like slightly better resolution on like your Sega CD 32X games. Like Night Trap, probably that would have been the way to play it, except that now there's like an HD version.
There, as much as I love the Genesis, there's really nothing there for me there. That I'm going to be jonesing for it in the near future.
Yeah.
So I decided not to hook that up. Now this is the only kind of shame of things. So I actually really love the Sega CD. I have every great game for that system, and there's plenty of good games for that. And there are some essential titles on the Sega CD, namely Snatcher, Sonic CD. There's a few. Popful Mail.
Sonic CD has been supplanted many times over, but
yeah.
That is a good system for a game for that system.
Sonic CD for PC is like way better.
Like PSN 360 and PC that's the one to play.
Oh yeah, but like Snatcher, that's a game.
Absolutely,
it's essential. Popful Mail is essential.
There's Soul Star, which is
that game's great.
What Star Fox wished it could be.
Yeah, Soulstar is
as
really
blasphemous
awesome.
as that sounds, just look at... I mean, it doesn't have the character interactions or anything like that. Star Fox has more personality, but Soulstar has way better presentation and gameplay. Like, way better. Yep.
What?
No, just saying Soulstar has way better presentation and gameplay.
Gotcha. And I really love Road Avenger.
Yeah, Road Avenger is freaking... I don't think that's been ported, has it? Unless you count that mod for the SNES.
There's a bunch of ports of that one, but
There are? For what?
The Saturn and the PlayStation 1.
That's right. Those are Japanese only, though. Okay.
Yeah. There is a version of it for iPhones and stuff like that.
Okay.
There is quite a few ports of that. It even came out on Laserdisc if you wanted to play it that way too.
Fair enough. That probably would play pretty well on that, actually.
Well, that was its original format.
Yeah.
It was a Laserdisc game, so...
yeah, that was one weakness of the Sega CD, is that I had to downgrade the performance of a lot of those, like, QuickTime Event arcade games. Like, if you look at, like, arcade Time Gal, and then look at Sega CD Time Gal, it's like,
Yeah. Well, there are other games for that system that I love, too, so I kind of wish I could have it, but it just doesn't fit in the cubby of my girlfriend's setup there. So... I just kind of was like, okay, well, if I have to make a sacrifice for that, I'll remove that. I have an AV Famicom as well hooked up to everything because that's essential too. You know, I want to play some Contra every once in a while, and I want to play some good old NES games. You know, some Castlevania and stuff. So I have all those hooked up. I'm probably looking at a couple systems to add to it in the future. Now, the PS3 that I have hooked up is a 60 gig. So it was the original PlayStation 3 that was backwards compatible with PS1 and PS2 games.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will probably add my PS1 to my setup regardless, because we got PSIOs recently. So that is an advantage that the PS3 will not have.
Yeah, if the PS3 were able to play foreign PS1 games, then that would make it like the killer system. But no, you can go to foreign PlayStation Network, but you can't put a foreign PS1 disc into it. Which obviously means, I mean, this would just be paving the way for bootlegging and illegal downloading, but you can't do fan translations either. And with the PS1, you can do burned discs, so you can do fan-translated ISOs.
Exactly. So, I will want to have that for that, and I do have a PS2, but I think I'm going to hold off on that. There's no foreign games that I'm jonesing to play on that. As of right now, but I'm more interested in the PS1 games being translated right now than the PS2 games being translated right now.
The PS2 definitely does have some cool stuff, though. Actually, one thing I'm really going to want to play is going to be fan translated Shadow Tower Abyss.
Yeah, and there's a few games on there, like there's Namco Cross Capcom.
Yeah. Like for context, by the way. Project Cross Zone and Project Cross Zone 2 made it, out of Japan. So, but like, if you're wondering, Project Cross Zone is a sequel to Namco Cross Capcom. Like, there's that girl with the gun and the guy with the sword. They're from that, like Namco Cross Capcom. So it's a sequel that people may not know is a sequel.
Yeah, and not only that, but I think the Super Robot Wars OG saga as well is part of that chronology as well.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think America only got like one, maybe two Super Robot Wars games, and there's a bunch.
Yeah, no, the DS one is the one that I'm referring to.
Okay.
And that's the sequel to Namco Cross Capcom.
Oh, I didn't even know that. So there's a sequel before even Project Cross Zone.
Yeah, that's featuring those characters as well.
Huh. Okay.
So anyway, it involves like a health system that relies on how much clothing your character is wearing.
Because, of course, it does.
Japan.
Yeah.
But also have I also will probably add my N64 to the setup, because I just got in my N64 HDMI mod, and I'm having somebody install it. So once that comes back, I'll of course want to play it. So I'll probably end up adding that to the setup eventually as well.
Yeah, you may find that it looks a little weird if you play like Ocarina of Time or something, but I would imagine it would look a lot cooler if you're playing like Ogre Battle or like Mischief Makers or something.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. So I want to. I'm waiting for that to come back, of course. That's all I really wanted to say on this, and I have this all hooked up into a really nice amp that I had with two really nice speakers. So I set it all up. I have an HDMI switch routing all the systems, and I also was able to set it up in a way that made it easy to play the PC whenever, and also the cable. I wanted to make it easy because I didn't want to make it hard for my girlfriend to do something as simple as watch TV. So
yeah,
I set it up in a way that made it really easy. So I was excited to put that all together, and I'm excited to show it to you. It was kind of in shambles when you came over, and I was just getting things going, but it looks really nice now.
Nice.
And I just kind of wanted to share that because it's a fun project for me to put all that together and make it all work. And Square, the next thing that I wanted to go over here.
Oh boy!
And this is something that really is grinding my gears, to put it lightly, is that Square's insistence. This is our second topic here. Square's insistence on bad ports of shit that they put out.
But like, the thing is, though, it's like particularly of stuff that people were dying to get.
Yes.
Like you may remember, this is a few years back, but Final Fantasy VI, what a bunch of old school gamers argue might be the best Final Fantasy. Like, before, we have a lot more Final Fantasy games now, and people were like loving 15, and the MMO people are loving 14, but back in like the PlayStation 1 and even possibly PlayStation 2 days, it was kind of a toss-up between 6 and 7, which is like the best Final Fantasy game. Obviously, that's not definitive, but a lot of people felt really strongly about each of those games. And then FF6, it had a Game Boy Advance port, which was an improvement. It had
in some ways.
In some ways.
In terms of content and in terms of the translation, it's more accurate, and it also has more content, and it fixes
there's an extra boss fight. There's Kaiser Dragon.
It fixes a lot of the bugs too. It was a pretty buggy game.
Yeah, FF6, the original, was pretty buggy. Like, the graphics had to take a little bit of a downturn because Super Nintendo had Mode 7, and you're not doing it on the GBA.
The big shame of it, well, it still has Mode 7, but it doesn't look as good.
Okay.
Let's just put it that way. It kind of has a Mode 7-ish looking thing going on, but it's not. It doesn't. The resolution isn't what the Super Nintendo could put out. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, if you did a side by side, it's like, okay. But then the great news was that Final Fantasy VI finally went to Steam. But wait. Oh yeah.
Wait, there's one more thing that isn't quite right with those GBA ports.
Oh, okay.
The sound quality is not good.
Okay. And Final Fantasy VI is really, I mean, every Final Fantasy game is really known for its soundtrack, and 6 is no exception.
Well, the GBA is known for not having its own onboard sound hardware, or sound making capabilities. So every game needs to use resources in order to pump out sound, essentially.
Oh, okay. So even if you put it in the Game Boy player, then that wouldn't help because it's the way the game's designed?
It's the way the GBA is designed. The GBA doesn't have onboard like music and sound capabilities.
Sure.
It has the hardware to output it. However, it doesn't have like chips in it that are made to output sound and make sound if you gave it the instructions to do so.
Okay.
So essentially every single game had to have its own sound engine and use its own resources in order to pump out sound and music.
Gotcha. But like, and I was gonna say, I forgot to mention this one, but it also got a mobile port, which was like really mediocre, and like the presentation looked off. Like, I don't know, like modern phones can handle freaking Final Fantasy VI, but it looked like
the big thing
off.
that they did. There are a couple things that are really bad about the way the games look.
Didn't it look like it was Flash or something?
Well, no, but I'll explain it.
Okay.
So the big thing about these games is that they were masterpieces of pixel art. Like, they were just really good-looking, beautiful games. So what Square did was they were like, there's no way people would like pixels now. There's, like, as if it didn't look good in pixel art, you know, despite its limitation. Of course it looks great. It'll look good to anybody looking at it. Even with the, you know, it'll look like a video game, but it'll still look good.
That's the thing. Like, they made the same mistake that people for the sake of Saturn did. Like everyone wants 3D now, and the Saturn has like the most beautiful 2 games you'll ever find.
So essentially what they did was they put these filters on the game, on the old graphics that kind of like smeared everything to make it look like
smooth.
It was rounded. Yeah. But a lot of older emulators have this feature to make it kind of look cartoony rather than blocky.
Dungeon Keeper had that too, actually.
Yeah, but like that's not the way things were. Those games were meant to look, and they don't look good. And maybe in certain contexts it might look okay, but overall it doesn't look good.
And the thing is, this isn't even so much like, I mean, your preference is whatever your preference is, but like, this wasn't the way they were designed to look. So
correct.
Like, it's by default going to look off.
So there's this like filter smearing all the art. It's essentially like kind of like, remember that fresco of Jesus that lady like like messed up and made it look really stupid.
Yeah,
it's kind of like that.
No, honestly, what it makes me think of is almost the smudge tool on like
it's exactly
Photoshop.
What it is.
Yeah.
That's exactly what that filter does. Yeah. And these were games that were immaculately like every block mattered. You know what I mean?
No,
like,
literally, these people would draw this stuff on grids, because that's how they had to put it in the game. Like, they would literally do block by block.
Yeah, I mean, Inafune would bring out his old books, you know, for designing Mega Man characters, and he would literally do them on graph paper, and then digitize them. So, like, every block is where it should be, or else it doesn't look right. Mm-hmm. Like, those blocks needed to be in the exact right place or it would look funny. So a lot of these characters were like really great adaptations of drawn art by Amano, who made a lot of the Final Fantasy art. Almost all of the early Final Fantasy art. So, like, it looked great initially. There's no reason to fuck with it. And so they put it on mobile because they think, like, a modern audience, you know, they're trying to attract not just us. They're trying to attract, you know, people that are 16, you know, 17, 18 years old, and saying, hey, you know, they have access to this classic now, but we need to make it look good for what they're expecting. Not realizing that, hey, you know what? Those people aren't stupid. They watch like a lot of like YouTubers play classic video games. They like, old video games are very popular. They're one of the most popular things to do on YouTube, even for young people. They understand what old games look like and are okay with it. Like, they're more than okay with it. And plenty of games use pixel art style now. You know, you go on Steam.
The kids who played those games grew up and made stuff of their own.
You go on Steam and, like, it's an artistic choice now to use that stuff. So it's not, there's some kind of flawed business decision in putting that filter in there. And the most egregious thing about it is, let's say that was the default. I would be okay with it as long as I could turn it off. You
yeah,
can't.
go to the block look. Like
You
again,
can't.
Dungeon Keeper. You can have blocks, or you can have the smooth version, which I guess you could argue is more clean, but it just looks weird to me. But you can switch back and forth as you see fit.
So what ends up happening is, you have, but the game naturally can look the way you want it to. It just doesn't because they put a limitation on it. They hard locked it to have that filter after generating it with the pixels.
Yeah.
Like,
now here's the thing. This is
it's not like they redrew the game. They didn't redraw the game. No, so the game outputs correctly and then they change it.
Yeah, but like now here's the thing, because we've been talking about Final Fantasy VI, and like we said, this was several years back, and you can argue, just like Vyse said, they thought the audience would like a certain thing, but they didn't. You know, when you go to Steam, like all the reviews just shit on it because it's like, why did you give us this garbage mobile port? Because that's where we were going with this. Is that it finally hit Steam, it finally hit the big screen, but they chose the shitty mobile port. Now, here's the reason we're bringing this up on today's Reactive of all times.
Hold on, I want to
years old. Yeah,
I want to talk about these ports first. Okay, I want to get to the and that'll lead into what we're going to be talking about here.
All right.
So they ported these mobile ports of Final Fantasy V and VI to Steam. Mm-hmm. They are just straight up ports of these mobile ones with all of the smearing and everything involved. Now, the big shame of it is that they have all of the content that was added to the lesser versions.
Yeah, the Game Boy Advance.
The Game Boy Advance versions, but they have some of the advantages of the old games, like it has the music is correct. Mm-hmm. The resolution is good. You could play it on a TV naturally. All of these things. And it's in some ways it's everything you wanted and didn't have access to. But their presentation is so fucking poor. And they also don't the text is all wrong too. The font is too modern looking. It's not blocky at all, and it looks like a modern game. It looks out of place. It's stupid.
Yeah, that's the thing I was gonna say. Taste being what it is for anyone, but like the rest of the game looks a certain way, and then there's this weird text. Like it looks like somebody like edited it in.
Yeah, and not only that, but there are trappings of the menu system that would only work with touch screens. Like it's like it's like jerry-rigged into a Windows or controller controlled environment. When easily you could see where it was just touch screen interface. So the big thing about this is that people haven't been quiet about this. They've been complaining about this and telling them this is not what we want. And
that's where we're going with this.
Are huge numbers of people modding these games and working on them to get them to where we want. What Lotus was getting at was they just released Chrono Trigger for Steam.
Yeah, and people are dying for this one too, because Chrono Trigger is like everybody's favorite RPG of all time forever.
Chrono Trigger is like you may argue about which Final Fantasy is better, but most people will say that Chrono Trigger is better than them all. Like some people like it's probably it's my second favorite RPG of all time. I love it. It's really good.
Chrono Trigger just kills. But again, this is after Final Fantasy VI, where everybody complained about the port that they used. They did the same shit for Chrono Trigger. And once again, it's the mobile port, which had the extra content that from the DS offered, but it's the mobile port. And people are just losing their minds. It's like, how do you not... Like, were you not listening, or did you not learn? Because it's one of those two. Possibly both, but it's at least one of those. Like, how are you fucking this up?
So essentially, all they need to do is turn off that filter to make it good, and then also like put in the old art. Like, it's not all that hard. They could have done all of that, and here's the thing I don't get about this company is they spent so much time and money on one single game, like Final Fantasy 15 was made over the course of 10 years. So is Kingdom Hearts 3. These games are made over the course of 10 years. Do you know how much money it was fucking wasted making those games? Like, as good as as Final Fantasy 15 is, and as good as I believe a product that Kingdom Hearts 3 will be, they've been so inefficient making those games that, like, it's ridiculous. They've been actively working on making those games. It's not like they've been in the development. It's not like they put it off towards the side and didn't work on it. You know, they've been actively making these games. They've spent so much time and money and paying out the wazoo for all those employees to work on that game. And then you have this game that wouldn't take all that much effort to update for a modern system and get it running and have all of the content that you want it and have it look and sound the way you want it. And they go the laziest ass way to do it possible. Laziest ass way.
And not only that, but Square I don't know if it's just Square or if it's Square Enix, but like they have notoriously just like not given a shit about Chrono Trigger like for a decade. Like people would try modding it or like asking for sequels. Like the people who tried releasing like, I'll make a 3D version, I'll just copy the game and make a 3D version. I mean, it makes sense that they got a cease and desist, but they got a cease and desist. People like were begging for sequels or something to be done with Chrono Trigger, and like all Square does is just keep re-releasing the same game, but like the DS version you could argue was an improvement. There's more stuff, but otherwise it's the same game. And then the mobile version sucked, and the Steam version is the mobile version. And it's like, why do you hate Chrono Trigger when everyone else loves it?
Well, not only that, but like they think that nobody's interested in it. It's like, no, we're not interested in what you're giving us. Like, and we've been telling you this all along.
Yeah, again,
it's like,
Steam reviews on Final Fantasy VI, like, just day one, just bam. It's like what we said about Metal Gear Survive last week, just day one, fuck you from everybody. And it's like, how do you not learn from this mistake?
Yeah, and they've been doing this for a while, and they also do this with the Dragon Quest games. Now, I told you about, basically, I have to emulate Android operating system on my PC to play Dragon Quest 1 through 3 on them. Like, why do I need to do that? Like, why aren't you giving your updated versions of these classics on Steam and in a good version without fucking touch controls, without making it look like garbage? Like, you're not treating your properties correctly, and you would sell tons of them. You would every Steam sale you would somebody would buy at least one of them. You know, like like what are you doing? These are some of the best games of all time, and you're treating them like garbage. You're giving us mobile port version crap versions of them when they should be the definitive versions. They have all the content and like extra stuff. Like their version of Dragon Quest 4 is supposed to be even better than the DS remake because it has skits and party chat.
Oh, nice.
So like it adds more to the characters. But it's locked to the mobile version. Now they might port that to the Steam version, to a Steam version eventually, like they have with Final Fantasy and Chrono Trigger. But I don't want that either. I want a real good PC version that looks like the old SNES version, but with the new content. Like, why is that very hard to give us? It's kind of like with the new Secret of Mana remake. Like
that, I really don't understand. That was mostly improvements. I think I heard there were gameplay improvements. There may have even been quality of life improvements, but it has that obnoxious. Cheap. Yeah, it has that 3D chibi look that mobile games have, and like I know that is a type. Like that's just a type of look, and people probably love that. Like I know, like for like the later Ys games, that's just the way it looks, and those are great games, and people love them. but I like, this is just me, but I hate that look so much. Like, I just, and especially with Secret of Mana, that's not how it originally looked. With Ys, maybe you like it, maybe you don't. Like, the way it looks, I don't. I'm sorry. But with Secret of Mana,
Ys looks better than these games. Ys looks better than Secret of Mana.
Well, fair enough, but I just don't like that look. And, like, with Secret of Mana, it had the pixel art thing going, and now it doesn't have that. If you like the new look, then, you know, like good for you. Like, it's a totally different thing. We're not talking about shitty smudging of pixel art. It's just a whole other style. So maybe you love it, but I don't.
The point remains that they're not devoting enough resources to something that if they devoted even a little bit more would make a big difference.
Yeah.
And if they were, you know, if they gave the people that were porting these mobile versions, you know, a little bit more money, they could tailor things, they could add options, they could bring in the old art from the old games, which isn't all that hard. You know, like modders in their spare time do these things. You know what I mean? Like
whenever they had somebody, like, I'm gonna do an HD remake of whatever this is, or like a high quality texture remake. Like, I remember the people working on the Deus Ex project for a million years. They had like little status updates, like, oh, I have most of the objects done in this level. Like, they just take all the data and they just go through it painstakingly.
Yeah, getting back to this, I just don't understand how a company can be so inefficient and bad, and spend so much money on like craziness, but not spend money on something that should be a no-brainer.
Like that, and not only that, but like, again, talking about Final Fantasy 14 and 15 and like Kingdom Hearts, they know how to make a quality product.
Yes.
Like, it's not like, oh, this company's just a fuck up. Like, no, when they really want to do it, they will do it and it will be amazing. So that further implies that, like, they don't care as much about this stuff, or they gave the job to employees who do care, but they were like, here, you and maybe one other guy. Like the heads of the company don't seem to care as much.
Yeah, they're just brain dead and tone deaf. Nintendo knows how to do this stuff. Like, Sega knows how to do this stuff. Like, why don't they know how to do this stuff? Like, why are they so bad at this? You know?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't understand. They don't know how to properly treat their old games and their audience for those old games. They just don't know how to do it.
You know what this makes me think of, though? Like, it makes me think of Capcom in a way, like, specifically for Resident Evil. Like, everyone's like, oh man, I love these scary survival horror Resident Evil games, and then they release, like, all of this stuff that people are complaining about, like Operation Raccoon City, and Resident Evil 6, and Umbrella Corps, which is, like, the worst game ever made, and they're like, oh, has Capcom lost its touch? And then they release Revelations, the first one, and everyone's like, oh shit, like, it's back to form, but in HD. It's the survival horror game I've always wanted, and then they delivered. What are they going to do next? And then it's just back to crap. It's like, but you know how to make a good game, though. Like, what happened?
Yeah, Capcom is very inconsistent. That's their big issue. Is like, they'll be really good and then they'll fuck up, like, for a while, and then they'll get back to being really good again. Like, they'll like, you know, they've been making those classic collections recently, which is what Square should be doing.
Yeah.
Like, the Mega Man Legacy collections are fantastic. They're really, really good. Like, they also did the Disney Afternoon collection recently.
I can't even believe that. That's so good.
Like, I don't know who they were talking to in order to
yeah,
make
I did not
happen.
think those would ever see the light of day again. It's like if they randomly released, this wasn't Capcom, but it's like if they released, you know, the Sunsoft Batman Nintendo game again. It's like, can you do that?
Like, they clearly made a really good deal with somebody at Disney who understood that these games probably weren't going to be, like, blockbuster hits, but, like, they were going to sell well if they released them, which they did. But, you know, they're not Disney kind of money. You know, they're not making Disney money off of that.
Yeah.
But they still allowed it to happen. You know what I mean? So Capcom knows how to treat their old games well. They know how to do that, at least.
Actually, I would say that, honestly, at this point, I would say it's one of the best things that Capcom, or it's one of the things that Capcom is best at.
Yeah.
I mean, treating their old properties well, and fan service out the ass. Like, nobody knows fan service like Capcom does.
Yeah.
Even Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, everybody's shitting on that game, but like the fan service is totally there.
Yeah. I mean, they fuck up too a lot, but like for instance, Resident Evil 7 is, by all things considered, is supposed to be a great, fantastic direction for the series to go in. Like, people love that game.
I've heard it's a very love-hate kind of game, but like, props for going back to actually trying to make the game scary again.
Well, from everything I've heard, it's like way better than the direction that 6 took. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard Resident Evil 7 is the best in the series, is the worst in the series, but I think more people like it than hate it, but most people don't care for 6.
Yeah. So, and that's right after they made their best-selling game of all time, which is Resident Evil 5. How do you fuck it up that badly the next time around? Well, no,
I'll tell you exactly how. I'll tell you exactly how they fuck it up next time around. They saw how well Call of Duty did, and they said, let's try making it kind of like Call of Duty. There's your problem. Because
it was never meant to be Call of Duty.
Yeah, number one, that's exactly right. Number one, it was never meant to be Call of Duty. Maybe make it a spin-off game like that or something. I could see that working out. Just a Resident Evil game where you fuck around. Like, yeah. I don't know how well it would sell, but like, I could see you getting away with something.
Give it a shot.
Like Metal Gear Survive. Nobody likes that game, but like, what if Metal Gear did zombies? Let's make it a spin-off title. Okay, fine.
Sure.
So like, I could like, but a main numbered title, and not only that, never ever like, this has been happening for centuries. Never, ever try making your stuff like someone else's stuff, because at best, people will be reminded that you're a derivative version of someone else's stuff. Like, let me guess, Call of Duty does Call of Duty better than Resident Evil does. Now, I mean, there are cases where people can improve on the formula, but those are generally rare. And I guess if you always wanted that crossover of Call of Duty and Resident Evil, then this is your jam. But like, don't ever try being like. Do you remember when the Angry Video Game Nerd was new, and then every YouTuber and his fucking mother was like, I can be an angry reviewer. Like, the Angry Video Game Nerd was cool because he was original. Like, that wasn't a thing on YouTube, the angry reviewer. Like, it's like, he's saying what we're all thinking.
Actually,
he has amazing production values. He's still the best quality of them. I will say that. But, like, I'll be an angry review. Like,
I think he was parodying a certain type of YouTuber at the time.
Was he really? Because I remember he had old footage of him when he was, like, a little kid, just getting, like, raging at, like, Castlevania or something, or Mario or whatever.
I think he was making fun of, like, people who were doing that at the time, but not as extreme.
Oh, who were actually just mad, and that was it?
Well, no, they would get disproportionately mad at frustrating games, and that's why he curses as much as he does. He's over the top, and he's not like that.
Well, no, he's over the top. I know it's a character, but I mean, like, wasn't he, like, he was the first guy who, like, made that as, like, a review show, wasn't he?
He was the first guy to be popular doing that, but he had noticed a trend of people, like, doing that kind of review.
Oh, well, I guess I wasn't aware of that then. Because, like, he was the first I'd ever heard of who had done that. And I remember that after he came out, everybody tried being like him. Yes. But it was like, but the thing was, he knows how to make good quality videos.
Ironically, he was doing a parody and people didn't get that it was being a parody.
Oh. I mean, to be fair, like, he didn't model himself as the angry video game nerd. Like, that what was his first video? Like, Castlevania 2 or something? Was that the first one he did? Or one of the first?
Yes. Yeah.
Because the thing was, he did not start a web series as the angry video game nerd. Like, he was always a movie nerd first, and he, like, had done a bunch of original short films and stuff. And the angry Nintendo nerd was like, that was supposed to be a one-off. And it caught on. Like, so exactly. It was like, this will be the video I do this time when I make videos. Well, that was fun. Moving on. But, like, it really caught on. So, like, he wasn't trying to be an angry video game reviewer YouTuber. But, like, that was his thing. But, like, the people who tried being him, like, he wasn't trying to copy everyone else, and, like, that was going to be his defining thing. And, like, everyone else tried, like, there's the probably the most famous one is the irate gamer, I think. But there were like a million other people who like.
There's also the happy video game.
Yeah, but that was like, obviously that wasn't trying to be the angry one though. But like, yeah, there was like, everyone was trying to be the angry guy, and all I think of when I watch their videos is, oh, you're like the angry video game nerd, and like it shouldn't be. So when I'm playing Resident Evil 6, I shouldn't be thinking, this is kind of like Call of Duty. Like, not only that. So I said two things. I guess I have three things. Number one, it was what you said. Resident Evil was not originally intended to be Call of Duty. Number two was what I was bringing up. It's just going to remind me that it's a derivative product. But number three, I don't want to play Call of Duty. If I did, I would put in a Call of Duty game. I want to play Resident Evil. So what the fuck is this? Like, that's the problem that Resident Evil 6 had.
Yeah, I mean, here's what I'm getting at. Square also knows how to do things well, and I'll let you know exactly what I mean by this. So, Square actually has a definitive version of Final Fantasy IV, and that is their PSP port. Their PSP port is exactly what everybody wants. They know how to do this. It looks like the SNES game, sounds like it, and you can even put the orchestrated versions of all of those songs. You can pick between them.
That's awesome. And not only that, by the way, because it's a PSP game, is it still available on PSN?
Yes.
So that means that even better, you could download it to your Vita. Well, so it's still relevant, but if you have the cable, if you have the cables for your PSP, if you have the right model, or if you have a PS TV, then you can have your cake and eat it too, and you can play it on the big screen. So you can get the SNES version that you always wanted but never could have.
It has all of the extra content from all of the iterations, including the after years stuff that they came out with for the Wii.
I forgot about that.
They also have an updated translation. They have everything you could ever want. They even have like like a run button, which there was never a run button in the game. Like there's like quality of life improvements, and there's quite a few things that you can customize and say, hey, I want the old version of this, I want the new version of that.
I love that. So
they know how to make this. Just do that for 5, 6, and Chrono Trigger, and while you're at it, the Mana, Secret of Mana and Seiketsu Densetsu 3, like, give us all that stuff. Like, why you know how to make this. Like, it's been done before.
It's not going to happen with Secret of Mana because this is a different game. But I will say,
know,
though,
but like, why not?
Good question. I will say the remake probably will be the definitive version, though. But if you have that itch for the old school pixel art, then you're out of luck. Like SNES, it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with Secret of Mana. Like, much more okay with that than the mobile port bullshit that's going on. I'm much more. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Secret of Mana to begin with. You know that, but
no, for real. Like, I remember, I think Hardcore Gaming 101 put this up on his channel. I think it had a side by side of Chrono Trigger and Chrono Trigger. Like, I think it was SNES and PC, and you can tell.
You mean Secret of Mana?
No, I'm actually going back to Chrono Trigger. Or what?
Oh, okay.
Did they do Secret of Mana? They might have shown that too, maybe. But like, I think it might have been Chrono Trigger because it's more recent. But they did a side by side of something, and you can tell, like, Steam versus SNES. Like, there's definitely a distinctive. It's not like we're being like overly nitpicky nerds who are like, no one's gonna notice this but us. Like, you can tell.
Look, this is kind of like, the Star Wars movies. Like, people are picky about that. It's the same kind of thing. Don't fuck with it. Like, just give me a Blu-ray transfer of it and call it a day. Like, I want the high resolution of the Blu-ray, and like, maybe I might even want 5.1 Dolby Sound, which didn't exist back then. Like,
the 70s,
yeah, that it was in stereo at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I might even want that. But I don't need fancy graphics like special effects thrown into one of the best special effects movies of all time.
Well, I don't, especially because CG, no matter how good it looks, because it can look damn good, but no matter how good it looks,
It's going to get outdated.
It will age. Yeah, like in 100 years,
Blade.
People will go back.
Ugh.
What?
The original Blade. God damn it.
No, but like I mean, I'm talking about CG that looked good. That never looked good. But like, I'm talking about like in the year 2100. Go back and watch The Phantom Menace. It'll be like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, like I said, they know how to make this, and they're just not doing it. They're also like fooling people, like early adopters, into buying that and saying, "Hey, it's an updated version," and then not telling you it's a mobile port when it clearly is. Like it's just. It doesn't smell
actually,
right.
No, that was a dick move. Because was that a coincidence, or were you aware they actually said it's an updated version?
No, I was like, I got really excited, and then I read the comments.
Yeah, no, because they actually said, I don't know about Final Fantasy VI, but for Chrono Trigger, their Square's announcement was it's updated.
Yeah,
and like technically it's new. It's a version that had stuff added to it from the original. It is literally updated, but it's not necessarily an upgrade.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll be angry at that for a while. So,
Finally, someone other than me has like a rant on Reactive Consciousness dedicated like solely to them. Like,
yep.
I was just pissing and moaning about Metal Gear Survive. I had the EA thing. And I'm pretty sure I had something after that, and I forgot what it was already. But like, now this is your time to shine with Square Enix.
You leave the pissing and moaning to the professionals.
Yeah, sorry. I should have let you do it the whole time.
Okay. Well, that's the show for this week. Please remember to subscribe to the Corrective Consciousness YouTube and Soundcloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. And also chime in on these topics. Even talk about your game setups, and also, talk about your opinions, regarding these ports. I'm sure everybody else is in line with what we're saying anyway. It helps to promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Tuesday on our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the podcast about our lives and pop culture. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on Steam, PSN, Xbox Live, Twitter, Switch, and Battle.net.
And you could follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, or even selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, then maybe consider swinging by my Patreon, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
All right, everybody. We'll catch you on Tuesday.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye-bye.